Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to give you guys an update on my Poison Spectre Shield Throw Autobomber. And yeah, I read through the comments and there is always those people that say like, yo MBX, the build looks insane, don't get me wrong, but hey, you can clear blood aqueducts. This is like not really kind of an achievement, right? So I spent another 2 days on the character. We are currently level 91 on mbX Occultist. Okay, that's not that funny. Anyways, so today I want to give you guys an like end game mapping experience with these characters, but this is update number 1 basically. So the first initial idea and thoughts video, now the first update, and there will be a second update in the upcoming days once I started to do all the end game bosses. I'm almost done with spawning Saurus, the Maven, and all those kind of things, but today we're gonna focus primarily on the mapping experience on like high tier content. As well as I want to talk about the entrance cost of the build and gearing updates from the last episode, what I learned with the character, and what are the future updates when it comes to the gearing process. Good, I would say we start right away with a map showcase. Here we have like a strand map. Let's actually do Nico. This is on Awakener 9, so this is kind of the mapping experience. Let me get the sound a little bit lower here. Good. So this turned out to be more of a Plague Bearer build rather than a Spectre Shield Throw build, because Spectre Shield Throw is something I use on bosses, but for mapping I actually just use Plague Bearer. So I got a lot of like requests with people telling me that I should opt in Shield Crush instead of SST because it's more damage, because it feels better. I have no idea, I did not test that yet, but I will do in the upcoming days. So in the start of the map we basically just throw one shield, we do get our maximum Plague Bearer, and then we basically just have fun just running around blowing things up. When you notice that your Plague Bearer falls down, it's not the biggest of an issue, so now it's at almost depleted. Now it's depleted, almost. Wait. Yeah, almost. So let's assume it ran off. Now I actually just charge in one single pack and explode it up basically with my shield charge, and it's almost full again. So it's not like that I have to keep track on my Plague Bearer. If it's off one shield charge, and it will be full again. The rest of the map is just like run around and just fucking blow things up in the good old-fashioned way. I also want to talk about like defensive layers and options that we have basically to make this character a lot tankier. But I think this is like the good old days, man. This is like hyper speed mapping with a lot of explosions, a lot of fun, and also viable to do all end game content. For our bosses, I basically just threw down my weird orb. Then I also use the Plague Bearer because it's additional DPS, and that's basically the map boss. So when it comes to single target DPS, there could be improvements. Obviously, this was also Maven watched. But I think for a build that is that fast in clearing and everything, I think this is actually really, really fun. And I actually forgot to do the leak mechanic, so we're going to do that in this map. So we're going to run the second map with the leak mechanic as well. Then I want to do a delve because I think this build is kind of hilarious when it comes to delve. So as I say again, you throw your first shield, get up your Plague Bearer, and then you just activate your Plague Bearer and just keep running and just blow things up. This build is just cool. I don't know, like the way it works is kind of like a template character more or less. It's not meant to be like, yo, this only works with Spectre Shield Throw, this only works this way and that way. That's not true. I think this is more of a template character which you can opt in almost every single what do you say, occultist build, right? So let's see over here. Live region doesn't care, doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Rare monsters, max life. Yeah, that should be fine. Obviously, with like that low HP, I want to kind of stay on range, but you can also just jump into the monsters once you have your Plague Bearer up. It shouldn't be too big of an issue because, believe it or not, I wouldn't say we are insanely tanky, okay? But I would say we are kind of tanky, even though our low HP pool, because we are running Divine Flesh. And Divine Flesh makes us very, very resistant to elemental damage. We are max Chaos Res cap. That also means that we are very resistant against Chaos damage. Like, this Desecrated Ground here doesn't even tickle me. which is pretty good. So the only problem that I have at the moment would be pure physical damage, like really the hard-hitting abilities in the game. So, some explosions more here, some there. Actually, let's wait until the breach actually opens up. And you can always, like, deactivate your Plague Bearer, throw one shield, and then get it back on, right? Oh, more explosions, more explosions. I wish the mob density would be a lot better. That would actually be more fun. Because sometimes you really get those one screen cleans, like one screen clears, and this is one of the things that just feel amazing. It brings me a bit back to in the old days with Explode Chest and all these kind of things. The movement speed is ridiculous, and we are not even halfway. Okay, I would say we are halfway there where we want to be, because this build is actually gonna get a lot faster at some point. So more shields over here, and this is the map boss. Where's the second guy? Probably dead. But the good thing is, like, when you use your hydrosphere here, you can just shoot your shield at the hydrosphere, and then it will chain off the hydrosphere. So when I trigger the boss or something, I can just like stay like here and just shoot my shields over there, because the shields will bounce off the hydrosphere to the bosses, so I can still stay in range and be defensive, more or less, right? Now let's go at Delve. So you see that one too, because Delve has more monster density, which is a lot more fun. The showcase here is on depth, I think like 200 or something, to have a longer road. Is there any node that is like longer? This one, for example. Is that Delve 200 something? This is monster level 83, so it's well like the okay stage to farm Delve. It's not like deep Delve by any means, but still, you get the idea, right? It's not like any like level 70 Delve or something. Sometimes you need to be careful in Delve, because you're that fast and you're running way faster than your car does. So sometimes when you just shield charge around, you end up being like in any darkness zone where you actually don't really want to be, because your car decided to go the other route, right? Come on, this is like the good old explosion, man. This character is so fast. At some point, I think we don't even need shield charge anymore, because we're gonna have so much movement speed that we can just run around with keeping our, like, I don't know, like 200-300% movement speed with a self-chill once we added more cluster jewels. Good. That was for the map showcase. Now I want to talk about the gear, the gearing options, what have changed from the past video. What did I invest into, and all these kind of things. Let me just throw all of this in here, in my lovely dem tab. Get more of this, get more of that. Check. Checkmate. So, where do we start? Actually, I would say mechanically about this build. So, how can I reach those explosions? Basically, it's a combination of the Asenath's Gentle Touch, plus the Occultist Ascendancy, which is Profane Bloom, which says cursed enemies have a chance to explode, and we can curse them with the Asenath's Touch as well, because they give cursed enemies with temp chains on hit with some effect. So, I hit something, they get cursed, they have a chance to explode with the Profane Bloom, and they always explode with the Asenath's Gentle Touch, able to create chain reactions. Because monsters only explode when there is nearby corpses from the Asenath's Gentle Touch, but as soon as a monster dies that is cursed, has also a chance to explode. So we're playing a double explode build. The way why Plague Bearer can explode things is if we are using an Impresence with the Spear Reduced Mana. We don't have to use Impresence, don't get me wrong, but you need a Blasphemy setup to actually curse monsters that are nearby, because without that, we are not cursing, okay? Plague Bearer works the same way as a Righteous Fire. It's a degen floor, and it does not hit the enemy. So when monsters get stand in my Plague Bearer, because I don't want to say get hit by a Plague Bearer, that's not true, because Plague Bearer doesn't hit, we are not able to apply temp chains. Without curses, we cannot explode, okay? And that's why we use a Blasphemy Despair setup here, so when monsters are nearby, they are cursed. And if they die with the curse on, they have a chance to explode. If they explode, this is a hit, will then trigger my curse temp chains on hit, and the Asanas Gentle Touch will go off, okay? So that's the reason why we have those chain explosions. That's the reason why we can use Plague Bearer with the Blasphemy setup to also trigger those chain reactions. Shield Charge is a hit, so if I charge into a pack and I hit one monster, the chain explosion goes off as well. I'm just talking about what if you use Plague Bearer and just run around without touching enemies, how can you still trigger those explosions? And it also means that you don't have to play this kind of build to make this chain reaction possible. It works literally on every occultist as long as you have your Assonance Touch and a Curse on Hit setup with the Profane Bloom Ascendancy. Good. Next thing, let's talk about the gearing upgrade. So I just opened up my video from the last time, so I see what items we used and now what items we are using now, right? From the helm, we upgrade from a gold rim to a devouring diadem. The reason for that is I want to use a lot of auras, okay? So currently I'm using Precision, Herald of Purity, Herald of Agony, Herald of Ash, and Malevolence, and this spear. So this spear is for free through the Imprisons, but the other auras, I think at the moment it's overkill, okay? So my Precision is currently on level 12. I cannot level it higher because I don't have the mana ready for that. But I still run like Triple Herald, and I think this is overkill. I think that we should swap out Herald of Ash. Yes, I know, this is the pure joy, the visuals that make this build like so cool. But if we get rid of Herald of Ash and put like our Herald of Agony in this setup, so just if you're wondering why does Herald of Ash only has 16.8 mana reservation and Herald of Agony is 25, we would just swap that out. And it gives me a 25% free mana reservation to work on. That could be an Arctic Armor. That could be, what's it called? Aspect of the Spider for another layer of defense, for example, right? So there is options there what we can do. So why do I actually go with a Devouring Diadem? So basically, I have no chance of sustaining my mana off Spectral Shield Throw. This shit costs like 44 mana. I know there is ways to get it lower, but still, with that kind of attack speed that we have, the mana sustain is unbelievable high. So that's why I said we could use the Eldritch Battery, but I did not want to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 extra skill points to get Eldritch Battery. And I do want to activate a lot of auras, and the Devouring Diadem gives me Eldritch Battery, gives me some resistance, and also gives me Socketed Gems have reduced mana reservation plus 1 Socketed Gems. I picked this helmet up with the Malevolence reduced mana reservation chant for 1.5 Exalts, which I think is pretty cheap at this point. And since we're now using Devouring Diadem, I swapped from the Efficacy support to an Energy Leech support. So what the Energy Leech support does, as long as we are leeching, we are getting 25% more damage while we are leeching, right? Which is kind of insane. And if you're on full energy, we only get the 15% more damage. But as long as we are like attacking, we are always losing energy shield. And our leech is not that insane that we could like... We throw one shield and we're instantly full again, right? So as long as we are attacking enemies, we lose energy shield. And through the energy shield leech support, we're gonna sustain that energy shield, our mana basically. And we get this extra damage because we're not full on full energy shield and we are leeching energy shield, which makes it like super, super good. Then, on the next part, the Beano's Kitchen Knife. So, I said Beano's Kitchen Knife, I wanted to test it because of the poison proliferation. Do we need poison proliferation? No, we do not, because you either have, like, proliferation or you have explosions, right? Both combined, I think, is not really good, because the mobs that you want to proliferate from are exploding and they don't proliferate anymore, right? So, either proliferation or explosions. And since this is an Autobomber and I love my explosions, the reason to go Beanos is just not there. And that's why I opted in for a cheap Prismatic Eclipse, just with 3 green sockets to get this 3 times 12 global attack speed per green socket, which gives us like a huge amount of like actual DPS, because the poison, more attacks per second, more poison stacks per second, more overall DPS. And this cost me like 5 chaos with an Onslaught Corruption, so super, super budget. Then on the next part, the Replica Eternity Shroud. So I said already in a video that I think Replica Eternity Shroud looks cool, but it's not really efficient. And when I'm using a Dendrobate, which is a super underrated chest basically for poison builds, we get all resistance, we get chance to poison, which makes my SST a 7 link basically. And we do get 100% increased, or up to 100% increased poison damage if we have at least 300 dexterity, and increased poison duration if you have at least 150 intelligence. I'm a kind of a min-maxer here, so I have exactly 300 and 155, so I get both benefits. And this chest alone will actually give me more DPS than my Replica Eternity Shroud setup, right? And it opens up the way to use every single kind of unique item that I want to have. I don't need to have like everything Elder Influence. So in one hand, I lose like this limitation of only using Elder Influenced item with the Elder stats. And it makes the build a lot cheaper than it used to be, okay? So Dendrobate, I picked this one up with the enchant for 60 chaos or 55 chaos or something, 6 linked already, because this is an, like, poison builds in 315 are not really meta, and that's why these items are that freaking cheap, and I think it's like great. So I used Elder, Icefang, Orbit, and Winterweave. Now we're using the non-version, so they are a lot cheaper now. They're like 2 chaos overall, so not really things too fancy. We still use the Impersense. I still use my 2.7k armor shield that you can buy for like roughly 2.7k is like 1.5 max 2 exalts. I think for 2 exalts you already get like 2.8 to 9k armor shields, so that's not expensive either. The boots I swapped out just for pure life resistance. I paid 2 exalts for them, movement speed, life, and a shit ton of resistance, because resistance is something this build is kind of starved on, and I still use my String of Servitude with my all resistance, a Stygian Bite with all resistance, or high amounts of resistance, life, chaos damage, percent max life, whatever, should be the way to go. When it comes to gems, I swapped out a couple things and like mixed them together because I want to have my green socket, so I put my Withering Stab, Herald of Agony, and Precision in my weapon. I had this before in the gloves, and here was my Blasphemy setup, so I have this in my gloves now. So nothing too crazy over here. The overall setup is still the same. If we take a look at the path of building, this is the current version with around about 9 million Saros DPS. If we go to the configuration here, this is Saros DPS. So, Saros DPS, 9 million, sounds good, right? But it's actually not. The thing is, it's a poison build. It's a damage over time build. And the way this build works is, or the way poison works, is you always have to combine the important things on how poison works, right? You have a poison stack, okay? A poison stack will deal a certain amount of damage. Then you have an attack rate, how often you attack, and then you have the poison duration that you can see on the calculations, which is for me 5.7 seconds. So the way this works, every shield that I throw will leave a poison on the enemy. So the poison multiplied by the duration will give me the total amount damage done for one poison, okay? And based on the attack speed, the attack rate, I can say now how many poison stacks can we apply, right? That will basically mean, it's basically just multiply, right? So if I attack 5 times per second and my poison duration is 6 seconds, I can get up to 30 poison stacks. And only if I have those 30 poison stacks, I will reach my 9 million DPS, okay? So, it's just a ramp up time. So if I'm just like throwing one shield, I would probably do, I don't know, 300k DPS, you know, but every shield that I throw will be more and more and more and more. So let's assume I do 300k DPS or 330 in this example here that I have over here, and my attack rate is 5.05. So this multiplied by 505 means that I get like 1.6 million DPS per second that we ramp up for the duration of 5.73 seconds. So we multiply this by 5.7 and we get our 9 million DPS. That means in order to get my 9 million DPS, I need to attack the target for over 5 seconds straight, okay? That means that my total DPS once I'm ramping up, hey, is fine. Like 9 million DPS shouldn't be any issue to do any kind of content, right? But it needs a ramp up time, okay? So poison works a bit different. So, yeah, good. That's about this part. So I still need to like figure out, because I want to get my poison duration a lot lower. So at the moment it's 5.73. I think everything between 4 and 6 seconds is the comfort zone, which is fine. 5.7 is already pretty high, so that's why I need stats like damaging elements deal damage faster in order to reduce the poison duration and higher my DPS, not the damage done, because Damaging elements inflict faster will not increase my damage done, but it will increase my DPS because the poisons will deal the same amount of damage in a shorter amount of time. And this will ramp up this thing faster, so then I can get to my 9 million in like 4 seconds instead, right? And once we opt in better gear, I think this can get up to like 15 to 20 million DPS with this build, so we're gonna have a lot more damage and ramping once we continue investing into this build. Good. When it comes to how much did I spend in this build, I actually wrote down everything yesterday, and my current investment is 115 exalts. But before you fall out of your chair and be like, yo, wait a second, this doesn't sound good for 100x, I wrote also down what is the value of each. So my entire equipment, right, the entire equipment, including the 6-link, including the helm enchant, including everything, is 12 exalts, okay? When it comes to the flasks, the only, like, I spent like 16 exalts on the flask, but if we check up here, what is the most important flask? The Bottled Faith for 16x. Do I think Bottled Faith is strong? I think Bottled Faith is one of those flasks you kind of want to have in every build, okay? Because this is high-end, this is just because of the reason 10% increased damage taken from the enemy on consecrated ground. This is such a big multiplier that I would even use a Bottled Faith in an Essence Drain Contagion build. So yes, it is better for crit builds, but even for non-crit builds, this is like the strongest or one of the strongest DPS flasks overall. If you say you want to skip the Bottled Faith and take, like, I don't know, any other flask, then you're gonna fall down on the 16 exalts flask value to like not even like probably 25 chaos, which is a bleed immunity flask, a Quicksilver flask, an Atiri's Promise, and a Sin's Rebirth. You know, these flasks are damn cheap. It's just the Bottled Faith ramping up the price that heavily. Good. Next part, Jewel's value is 21.66 exalts. Main reason for that is because I bought a Watcher's Eye. This is this one over here, which has damaging like dot multi-malevolence and unaffected by poison, which is like the end game kind of like Watcher's Eye. This cost me 20 exalts. What is necessary? Just the unaffected by poison. So if we skip this 20 exalts that I spent, so here is another one that I put in over here. The Malevolence Poison standalone is a 10 Chaos Watcher's Eye, right? So if we would skip that too, our gear would be 12 exalts. Our flasks without Bottled Faith is like 25 Chaos. Our jewels with just the Malevolence is like 1.5 exalts. So I would say, realistically, you can get this build to tier 16 maps with that speed for about 15 exalts investment. So gems value 65 exalts. So this is where I spend most of my currency onto because I like to invest into gems. The reason for that is gems barely use value. Let's say I craft a shield for 50 exalts investment, I buy essences for 50 exalts, and I get a mediocre 2.8k shield that sells for 2 exalts, right? Then I lost 48 exalts. I could technically had the chance of making like one of these strongest shields because I was crafting that myself, but if it doesn't work out, the currency is gone. So what happens with gems? Gems will usually stay in value or drop a little bit, okay? So I spent over 60 exalts, 65 exalts in my gems. And if we take a look at an Empower support, costs 9.5 exalts. If we take a look at an Enlighten support, that shit costs 11 exalts, okay? So just the gems that I picked, like level 620 Awaken gems, just the gems alone are worth more than my entire gear, plus Watcher's Eye, plus cluster jewels, plus all of that, okay? So if you go over the list here a little bit, the main hand weapon 5 chaos, the shield with 2.7k armor is around about 1.5 exalts, the devouring diadem 1.5 exalts with the enchant. Then we have Dendrobate, cost me 50 chaos for a 6-link. We have Arsonet's Gentle Touch. This is always the price of a Trash to Treasure. So if I price an Arsonet's Touch, we are at 4.6 exalts. I can now check the price of a Trash to Treasure. If Trash to Treasure is 4 exalts, then I would just buy that because chancing Arsonet's Gentle Touch is a 100% chance. Just buy any Silkcloth, Trash to Treasure, chance it, and you're done. Then we have the next part. I bought these boots for 2 exalts, which is just life resistance. The String of Servitude costs 50 chaos with this all-res. Then we have the Imprincess cost 40 chaos. I even included the Anointment and the Catalyst. So the Catalysts are actually more expensive than the Amulet plus the Anointment. The Ice Fang Orbit 2 chaos, the Winter Weave 25c. Then we have the Flask, as I said, 5 Chaos, 5 Chaos, 5 Chaos, 10 Chaos. The reason why they're usually 1 Chaos, but I added in the quality, the, the bubbles that you need to upgrade those. When it comes to the jewels, I'm running a Timeless Jewel here with Xibaqua to turn this Keystone here into Divine Flesh. As an occultist, we have absolutely no problem getting chaos resistance, just the chaos resistance that we get from Withering Presence. Then a couple of items like the Impresence gives you chaos resistance. So getting chaos resistance on an occultist, I'm not even self-poisoned, I'm already overcapped, so this is like a big layer of defense when it comes to that. I checked that I get a Cult of Chaos over here, maximum chaos resistance, helps with the elemental damage sustained because we're converting 50% of the elemental damage in chaos, and if I have like a lot more chaos resistance than elemental, then it's obviously a very high layer of defense, basically, right? And here I also have Revitalizing Darkness, which is chaos damage leeches life. I don't think this is too mandatory. I mean, it's leech, but it's an attack-based build, and getting attack damage leeches life is not the hardest thing to do. Other than that, what else do we have? The Inertia with Corrupted Blood costs like 1 Exalt. I put this over here because, first of all, we miss a shit ton of strength. I need 84, so that's why I opted this one in and turned my Dexterity into strength nodes. And that's why I also had to socket or gem or basically scale 30% dex, so I get my 300 dexterity, so I get the 100% increased damage from poisons from my Dendrobate chest. Then we have the Replica Hot-Headed is like 30 chaos. This is our self-chill jewel over here. Then we have the Golden Roll is like 1 chaos, and the Medium Cluster jewel with Deep Chill and Astonishing Affliction is like, what would I have, like 5 chaos. Super cheap, all of that. And then it's just gems, like whatever, like Shield Charge, Herald of Purity. This is also a layer of defense in my opinion, because Animalus, the minions will taunt, and this will basically taunt enemies so they don't attack you, another layer of defense. The Virgin Herald of Ash, as I said, I think in the future we're gonna throw Herald of Ash away, maybe even get like Aspect of the Spider, or level up our Precision, or do other things. Maybe I can skip the Enlighten and opt in for something else, right? Then Spectral Shield Throw, we don't need the expensive one. There is a, I think I have this actually. I used it on my Raider, which is the Phantasma, which is the multiplier. We don't need that. We just need the normal Spectral Shield Throw. I don't even need the enchant on my helmet, because I think those 5 additional projectiles are not too mandatory, because we're exploding packs and not hitting packs, okay? So if I hit 10 enemies or 1 enemy, it doesn't matter. If 1 enemy dies, boom. Okay, so I don't think this is necessary at all. The Virgin Malevolence is quite nice because it gives us increased damage with ailments, since this is an ailment build. Then we have Hydrosphere. The Empowers, I want to mention something. I have 1 Empower over here. This is from my Despair, because I had this 1 free gem socket since I swapped my Herald of Agony and stuff in my weapon. This just boosts my Despair a little bit. And then I have an Empower for my Plague Bearer. The higher level the Plague Bearer, the more maximum Plague value is, right? So if I would put away the Plague Bearer, then I have 800,000 Plague value, and with the Empower I have 1.1 million. So we talk about 300k. But that doesn't mean that my Plague Bearer does 300k more damage. The way Plague Bearer works, it depletes 12% of the value every second, right? So let's assume we have 1.1 million... plague value, and we say 0.12, we do 130k DPS with my Plague Bearer. So if you don't have Empower and you have 800k times 0.12, we still have 96. So the difference is 40k DPS by spending 11 Exalts or 10 Exalts for an Empower gem. So yeah, of course, 40k DPS is 40k DPS, but is it worth 9 or 10 Exalts? I think only if you're min-maxing. If you say, I cannot afford an Enlighten for 9 Exalts, what do I do? Just put this away and don't use Herald of Ash, okay? I don't think Herald of Ash is needed in the build at all. It's just for the visuals. I personally think of ditching Herald of Ash as well, so if you don't have an Enlighten, you just don't swap on Herald of Ash. Just with an Enlighten, I could put on Herald of Ash, but that also gives me the option to swap out Herald of Ash for anything or for something else. Other than that, it's just gems. Energy Leech support, as I said. That's like one cool thing. Remember in the first video, I had Corruption here for Energy Shield, Chaos Damage Leeched as Energy Shield. But the better one is the Dirty Technique. So what I did is getting an Energy Leech support in there, so I can sustain my mana pool basically. But that also gives me Dirty Techniques, which is like one of the best nodes that we have on the tree. Good. Other than that, what else do we have here? Nothing too fancy, basically. Good. Upgrade paths, I would say. Let's talk about that before we are gonna stop this video and before I like continue to grind up this gear. So what is good? What is bad? What do I need to change? I think getting a better shield is like almost top priority, right? I used like I just put in a 3k armor shield or 3.2k armor shield in my PUB. It gives me over a million DPS for the total poison damage done. So a million DPS increase by getting a better shield. A million DPS increase if I get one of those weapons, what I explained in the last video, which is like chaos.multi, chaos damage over time. What else? Dot multi, all these kind of things. Maybe even malevolence, aura effect, if this is still a thing, because I cannot find this in the POB for some reason. Should be a hunter modifier. That will give me roughly 1 million DPS. In terms of Dendrobate, so the thing is, Spectre Shield Throw gets another... so now it deals 6 to 8 added physical damage per 15 armor. If this gem reaches level 24, it goes up to 7 to 9 physical damage. So if I just go from like the skills over here and I put this one to a higher level, you're gonna see now we have like 300k DPS increase, 300k DPS increase, and now with 24, boom, we have like almost 1.5 million DPS increase, okay? So the reason for that is, as I said, now it goes to 7 to 9, and we have a big armor shield. This scales tremendously. How do we get to 24 Spectre Shield Throw? I have Dendrobates with +2 projectile and +2 projectiles +1 to all. Since I played this build in auto search, never popped up. So even if I get one, nobody else will, because this shit is rare as fuck. Another way would be maybe swapping or put away the Herald of Ash and get a rare amulet with like +1 of dexterity skill gems, +1 to physical skill gems, okay? Or, yeah, physical. So it would get +2 and then, or just a +1 plane and then get a +2 Dendrobate, which is on the market for not too expensive. So we get this to 24, right? So that would be a massive upgrade. So here a million, there a million, here is like over 2 million DPS if I get the Spectre Shield Throw to 24. And now I'm like crafting on a pair of boots that I'm currently trying to get. So the aim of this is like getting Tailwind, Elusive, Tailwind immune to poison, so I can get a double stat Watcher's Eye with damaging elements dealt faster in dot multi. So the way I crafted these boots, I was Awakener orbing the elevated Tailwind with elevated Onslaught, and what we actually hit was increased effect of non-damaging elements, which is insane because we are a self-chill build, and this will actually increase the level of chill. Plus, adding a second cluster jewel will get me to a 30% self-chill, which gives me like freaking 300% movement speed or some shit. That's gonna be insane. Now, from this point on, I do suffixes cannot be changed. Better, or the cheap way would be just Reforge Crit now, and then suffix cannot be changed and try to aceling. This is what I tried to do right here, but 3 times in a row it already failed, so I always removed elusive and never the suffixes cannot be changed, sadly. Or in the other hand, you could do a Reforge Chaos, but then you need another another influence modifier to then suffix cannot be changed, and then 50-50 Maven Orb to get the unaffected by poison. I think for me it's just better to just go with an elusive, then aceling mod for movement speed, and then craft cannot be frozen or life or something like that. And these boots are probably worth over 100x. I think those boots are now already like almost worth more than my entire gear, including the gems, right? So this is the current project that I'm working on. I should actually work on the shield and on the weapon, on the +3 on Spectre Shield Throw instead. But hey, I love crafting, and this is like one of the first end game craft that I'm trying to attempt, which we hopefully fix on today's stream. Anything else? Stygian Vice, life resistance to just get away from the string of servitude. Then more levels. I'm level 91. I still I want to get another like a large cluster and 2 mediums that will give me another like 1 or 2 million DPS increase. You know, we're gonna find a way to actually min-max this build even further, but this video is the showcase of tier 16 maps, the current feeling of the build, and now we're gonna basically get more into like crafting and try to min-max this one even further. I put the path of building link in the description below, and yeah guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.